All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Potential Project. I'm your host, Sean Calhoun, and I always like to start with a little gratitude because I am extremely grateful that you would spend your time listening and or watching me and what I have to say, because my goal here with this show is to help feed nuggets that I get through books, through mentors, through experiencing life, and put them out in my viewpoint in hopes that they're going to help benefit your life as well. And all that I could ever ask is that if you do find value, if you laughed, if you learned something, that you could share this show with one person. Text it to them, share it on your social media, get the word out there, because sometimes, and the way I like to think of this is I might repeat a message that someone else has said, right? Maybe it's a world leader or someone on social media, but the way that I said it maybe resonated with you or will resonate with your friend or family member in a different way that allows them to take action. See, I am obsessed with personal development and expanding myself and seeing what type of potential that I have and that I can give to the world. And a lot of times you learn from people. I've read books, I've listened to podcasts that just didn't hit my heartstrings. It didn't resonate with me. And that's okay because their work is probably helping millions of other people. So I know if that's the case, that your voice matters, my voice matters, and the way that we say it is going to resonate with someone. So that long-winded message to say, if you could please share the show, I'd be eternally grateful to you. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about, the state of the world a little bit. And I'm no world leader, and I don't plan on solving the world's problems in today's episode, but I wanted to talk a little bit about stress, anxiety, depression, and worry. I feel like in the world we are stricken by things that lead us into fear, right? We have extreme numbers of people that are dealing with anxiety, depression, worry, fear, stress, and it's gotten past the adults, right? Usually you talk about the person who's working so many hours that they're stressed out, they have 3 kids at home, they're working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and that person's stressed, and rightfully so. But you talk to people, you look at reports, and we're dealing with children, right? We're dealing with high school, middle school, even elementary age children talking about depression, talking about anxiety. There's been so many people who I've conversated with who are on sabbaticals from work because the workload is too much, their mental fortitude is not in a good place, and we're just dealing with a lot of stuff. Now, with me saying this, I'm not here to say that those are not all valid and real things. There are clinical depression, there are high levels of mental health that people need help with. I'm just here to say that it needs to be addressed more. We need to talk about it in a more casual light. I feel like sometimes when people bring up mental health or anxiety or depression, that those terms get pushed to the side, and it's kind of like politics or money when you're at the dinner table where we just don't quite want to talk about it. Well, the reality is so many people are dealing with it. Everyone on this earth deals with some form of anxiety at times, some type of worry, right? These are human innate features that we deal with. But it's like, how can we come together and figure out a way to minimize it, right? We don't have to cure all depression. Like, no one's ever going to have depression again. I'm not here saying that. But what I am saying is that there's got to be ways to take the level at which we're at. Maybe we're way down in the dumps, suicidal, like the worst of the worst, and lift that spirit just a little bit, right? In order to maybe see a different perspective and continue on the spectrum of living a more happy, blissful experience, right? I don't expect us all to go from stressed, out of our minds, depressed to woo, life is great and it's a fairy tale and I'm living in a dream. That's not my hope. My hope is that we are able to take a deep level of stress and give ourselves tools and community to be able to lift one another up and get to a place of enjoying the time that we have here on this earth, because it is very short and we need to be able to maximize our potential and maximize the experience that we get here as human beings, because that alone is a blessing, right? And I feel like the two main ways that we can do that are through service and through value. And what I mean by that is that we as humans were put here on this earth to help one another and help the human species thrive. Without one another, we don't have a species, right? Like if we don't come together and learn and grow and have sex and make more humans, right? We don't survive as a species. And the fact that we have these brains in our head to be able to have conscious thought, and animals and bugs and everything doesn't have that, we need to use that to our advantage, not to our detriment. So the first part is that we are here as a species to help one another. You might think of dogs like German shepherds or some bloodhounds, right? Like dogs have a duty, they have a purpose where one might be to go hunt, one might be to protect, one might be to nurture, right? Animals and dogs, they have these purposes that they're put on here on this earth to do. And you notice when they're not fulfilling their purpose, what do? They dig holes in the backyard, they walk in circles, they don't do anything, right? They're not serving their purpose, but they feel fulfilled. You can see when a dog has high energy when they're in their zone of genius, when they're out there hunting, when they're out there protecting their children or their owners, right? They seem to operate at a higher efficiency and seem to live with higher energy and happiness. So as animals and then dogs have their purpose, so do humans, right? And we are here, like I said, to benefit our people, humans, mankind. And we're here to do that through service and value, right? So, like I said, when we're not doing these things, you'll notice when I start to talk about this, you're going to have people come up in your mind who you work with, who you deal with in life, or who you've just seen, who this happens to. When we're not working with service and value and purpose, we drift through life, right? We just seem to coast along. And what that leads to is hopelessness. It leads to anxiety. It leads to depression. And it leads to a lack of lust for life, right? We're just kind of waking up every day. You can see it in people's eyes when they just have no purpose, no enthusiasm, right? They're just kind of coasting through life. And that to me is not a fun existence, right? You don't want to feel like that. You don't want to go through life with anxiety and feeling down on yourself and just waiting for your other foot to hit the floor until one day something bad happens and maybe we pass away or whatever. Like you go through years and years of life like that. That is not a life that is lived, right? And if you're down in that place right now and you're listening to this, there's hope. We can change. Call me up. I'll be here to talk to you. There are tons of people out there who are living the most out of their life and have the tools and they want to help. So it's not hopeless for people, but you see people living their life like this, right? Another thing that happens when we're in that situation is we point the finger, right? We point the finger at other people. We point the finger at circumstances and events in life that are not in our control. And then we just put blame on those things or those people for the reason why we're feeling this way, right? It's like if you're down in the dumps, you're hopeless, you're depressed, you have high anxiety. Well, you want something to put that blame on so that it doesn't have to be on you. And then you kind of feel at peace, not at peace, but it might calm your nerves to know that, oh, I feel this way because of that. Like there's an explanation for it, and that kind of solidifies your reasoning, and then you have a story to tell as to why your life is the way it is. And that is the worst thing you can do, right? We sit here and point the finger, oh, it's the weather. Oh, it's the president. Oh, it's my boss. Oh, it's what you can point the finger at anything, but guess what? That's not going to do. It's not going to change your circumstance. It's not going to make it any better. It's not going to make your depression or your anxiety or your feeling of hopelessness improve at all. It might numb the pain a little bit, which you might think is a jump in your vibration and you feeling a little bit better, but all you're doing is numbing the fact that that's still occurring in your life. It's not going to change the circumstances whatsoever. So if you're hearing me and you're like, wow, you're really hammering down the point of a not so ideal existence on this life, on this earth and in this life, well, then what the heck do we do about it? Like, what's the point in you saying this if you're just going to harp on it? Well, I'm not here to harp on people who aren't millionaires and aren't in the love of their life with a great relationship and the healthiest people ever. I get it. We're not perfect, and I don't expect us to. But what I do expect us to do is take control of our life and know that it's up to us to make a change. No one is coming to help you, right? That might sound sad. And look, like I just said, I'm here for you. Like there are people who are out there for your well-being and want to help and want to support and want to guide you in the right direction, but no one can do it for you. Like in what I do, like I can guide you and I can text you on what to eat and what movements to do and what exercise and how frequently to help with your health, but I cannot physically do it for you. I cannot exert the energy. I cannot, even if you show up to a workout with me, I can motivate you, but I can't make you push through and do that extra rep or, put your focus into it or prep your meals. I can't do it for you. So as soon as we understand that there is no one coming to help us and we are also fully capable of controlling the outcomes in our life, then you take back the power, right? You take back the power because you know that it all starts with your thoughts. If you have the ability to think a thought, you have the ability to plan something, you have the ability to take action, and you have the ability to analyze and to interpret your way of things happening on earth. That gives you all the power in the world, which means if you have a negative outcome and you're anxious and you're depressed and you're down in the dumps, that means that was because of your negative thoughts, which led to your negative actions, which led to your negative outcomes. So if that's the case, sit back for a moment, chew on that for a little bit, and understand that if we just flip our thoughts and we start to engage in service and value, then we can turn the whole things over, right? So what we need to do is, like I said, first things first is understand that we need to control what we can control, which are our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions. Then we need to find ways in which we can provide a service and or add value, right? That comes in tons of different ways. I mean, think about value, right? You saying hello to someone and greeting them with a smile. Well, you just added happiness into their life. That's adding value. Now, you might seem like, you might say like, Sean, that's stupid. What does that have to do with anything? There's been times where people have paid me a compliment and that made me happy the rest of the day. And then that in turn was a compound effect. And so I did something nice for someone else, or maybe I brought that to work or home with me and I was more pleasant to be around. It's a compound effect, right? So just a smile and a hello and holding the door for someone is service and value. But the reality of it is we don't need to do earth shattering, world changing stuff right away. You need to just figure out where we're at right now. Where do you work? Who are the people in your life? Who are your family, your friends, your community? And how can we start to bring a positive value to that, right? Can you volunteer at your church? Can you, add value to your spouse by offering to pick up your kid from school? Like there are endless ways in which you can provide value. And a big one is at your work, right? Whatever it is you do. Are you an accountant? Are you a nurse? Are you a teacher? How can you analyze, okay, this is what my profession is. How can I become the best at it? Or how can I be more efficient? Or how can I improve the company? How can I make more profit? How can I make it reach more people or help more lives? Take your job, take currently your what you're doing and say, how can I absolutely be the best at what I can do? Right? That is adding value to your company, to your family, and to everyone who that affects, right? Like if you're thinking small, it's going to directly affect your coworkers, your spouse, maybe your kids. But if you're thinking big and you're realizing, hey, I came up with an idea for the company to boost its profit by 5% and be more efficient and take away their expenses by 2%. Well, that bump might allow your CEO to, number one, promote you, to be able to give people raises, to give bonuses, which then allows the family who you work with to buy their kids toys for Christmas, which allows them to be close knit as a family, and then they don't get a divorce, right? I'm going down a rabbit hole, but you get what I'm trying to say. There is a huge, huge, huge compound effect to every single thing that you do in the positive or the negative. So if we think about it like that, where your action for the positive can have this ripple effect, even if it's something at work, like staying a little bit later or helping cleaning up the bathrooms or whatever it is, then you can realize that you don't have to be Martin Luther King to have an impact on the world, right? Like, I'm not saying don't go do that. Like, go be your best self. But those little things that you're doing in your household, for your church, for nonprofit organizations, at your work, in your communities, those little things have an impact on the entire world. Now, I know that might be a weird, strange concept, but that's just the way I think, right? The butterfly effect, you've heard it before, where like something very, very small can have a huge impact. And it does. Every little action, every source of service or value that you add in the positive has that ball of energy that affects the rest of the world in the positive way. So then the good news is, when you can think that way, you're going to be more prone to doing little things. Like, if you're local to us, we have Wawas around here, and everyone knows, like, it's a thing. You hold the door at Wawa, like that's built into their culture, right? It makes someone smile. Maybe you buy someone a coffee. You're going to be more prone to do that, because now you're not just thinking about that person in front of you. You're thinking about the compound effect that it's going to have on their life and on the people that they go touch and they see and they interact with for the rest of their day or life. It creates that ripple. So now you're holding the door saying, man, I'm changing the world. You're buying that coffee saying, man, I'm changing the world for the positive. You're doing these actions with a bigger purpose in mind. And guess what that does to you? That lifts your spirits. That takes you out of a state of worry. That takes you out of a state of depression and anxiety. Because guess what? Humans are meant to serve, and we're meant to provide value. So when you're in your zone of genius and you're doing it, thinking of it with a bigger purpose and a bigger passion and a bigger impact on the greater good of the world, well, then guess what? I'm telling you, that anxiety goes away. Every time I've had crippling like anxiety where your face goes numb and you don't know, you're like, oh my God, can I pay the bills? Is this going to happen? Are they going to break up with me? It's because I was thinking of myself, right? I was thinking of, oh, poor me, poor Sean, what's going to happen to me? And every single time I've done something with my ego aside, whether that would be give a homeless person some food or go visit your grandparent or hold that door at Wawa, I've never felt like anxiety or bad about that. Like, you always feel good because the intention is pure. You're there to help someone else, and you're doing it in the state of value and service. You are making other humans' lives better, which collectively brings it back to you. Which is funny, because when you come full circle, right? Like, let's say you're stressed about bills and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can pay the bills this month. Like, we're gonna drop the account down to negative or zero, and like, I don't know what to do. And you're in that state of mind. Well, if you go from that to how can I provide the most value, right? Number one, the more value you provide, the more money you're going to get paid, right? People who solve the biggest problems get paid the most money, right? Like lawyers, doctors, like you think about people like that, entrepreneurs who have huge businesses, and you look at the core of what they're doing, they're providing immense value to other human beings, which means their worth goes up, which means they get paid more. So it has a ripple effect on all of the things that you're stressed out about. And I hope you're understanding the concept that I'm trying to get across, that when you're feeling down in the dumps, when things are not so good mentally, we need to turn outward. We need to give service. We need to donate our time, our money, our knowledge, and provide as much value to other humans as humanly possible. But you get what I'm saying, right? We need to provide service and value. Another thing that you can do to supercharge this entire experience is to work on yourself. The biggest form of service and value that you can give to others is to give to yourself first. Because when you are a walking, talking billboard for what it means to do those things, then you're providing service and value just by people experiencing you, right? And what I mean is like taking care of your health, taking care of your physical body, taking care of learning and your knowledge and your finances, being smart with saving money and investing and doing all those things. When you are doing that, you don't have to say a word. You walk into a room and someone pays you respect because they're like, oh, they take care of their health. They're dressed nicely. They care about their appearance. They don't have to know how much money you do or don't make. But if you're someone who takes care of their money and is financially secure, right? People know. People can feel that energy. And guess what that does? Without you saying or doing a thing, they're like, ooh, if they can do it, so can I. And I want to be like them. So let me get off the couch and go for this walk. Let me not have dessert 5 nights a week and let me only have it 3. They start making these decisions and bettering themselves, which again has that compound effect. So when you take all of your attention and put it on, how can I be the best human that I can be? You are simultaneously providing a ton of service and value. I mean, you can think about it in your own life. I mean, who do you follow on social media? Who do you watch on shows, on the news, wherever you idol people? Are there athletes? Are there business people? Are there other people in the world that you look up to in a certain way, whether it be their health, their finances, their impact on the world, that has an effect on you? People who have passed away. They could be dead now. They could be past presidents or world leaders that you have looked up to and you've studied, and they're making an impact on the decisions that you make today. They're not even alive anymore, and they're still affecting you, which means by default, I'll go back to this, you living up to your full potential, taking care of your health, taking care of your finances, taking care of all of those things, your faith, right? If you're a person of faith, that stuff has an impact on everybody. And now it's to the point where you have that impact even if you're not physically doing anything, even when you're not holding the door. Just you being you, people see that in public, and it has this impact to say, hey, I want to be better. I think I can improve this area. I'm going to take action today. So I hope that hit home, guys. There is a compound effect to service and value as humans. And I promise you, when you are focused on that so much that it consumes your thoughts of how can I be better today? How can I provide more value? And how can I provide more service? The depression, the anxiety will lift, right? It's going to lift. I'm not saying it can cure it totally. There's some people who need medication or are diagnosed, whatever. I'm not saying that, but it'll definitely improve your situation. So please go out, take the next step, see how you can provide service and value in your home, in your community, and to yourself today. So until next time, guys, go be great, go change the world, and I will talk to you later.